Welcome to the Women's Basketball Podcast, your home of all things basketball chat. I'm Hannah.
I'm Kaz, and we're very excited today to be joined by the 2023 Basketball England All-Girls Inspiring Female of the Year in the Northeast, and the youngest ever winner of the Betty Cardona Coach of the Year. It's Newcastle Eagles head coach Chloe Gaynor. And Chloe, if we were recording this last week, we'd be saying it's Newcastle Eagles player coach Chloe Gaynor, but the news came out yesterday, you are full-time head coach for the Newcastle Eagles.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, I mean, I've made the decision. I don't think, again, a bit like they said in the article, it's not much of a surprise, but yeah, I made the decision to step away from playing. I mean, ultimately, my body cannot do it anymore. So yeah, focus on the sidelines, and yeah, very happy to be in that position.
And you took over.
So what's the transition been kind of you started as the player coach? I mean, that must have been really difficult, being in that position. And I think that in itself has a very specific and special skill set. How did you kind of cope with that during those games?
Yeah, it was challenging, honestly. Like, now I've said to Paul and Sam many a time, like, props to Fab, because I have no idea how he did that for, the amount of time that he did. Like, it is incredibly difficult to manage both of those sides. I think a lot of coaching is developing relationships anyway, how you manage those. When you add that teammate element into that as well, that's like particularly tricky. And on top of that, like, I mean, the first season that I was coaching, when I stepped into that role, I had the likes of like Abby Lowe on my team, who I've been friends with for, over a decade. We lived together in Barking, for example, and I've had Zoe for the last 2 years, who, again, like, friends with for a long, long time. So it's managing friendships, relationship, and that coaching element. So yeah, it's a difficult balance. When I stepped into the role in that first season, I was very fortunate to have the group that I had, and there was a lot of girls. I think, again, we developed that, relationship and that trust on the court, playing together for the first couple of seasons, and then I took over. I was fortunate enough that, they sort of had my back, and, we just got on board with what we were doing. And then, the likes of Tierra Hodges that season really stepped up in that captain role. And again, Rachel Bland, who had been with the club for years, really helped in that. And yeah, I think it was just one of those ones where, again, at that point in time, my body was struggling, so I knew my focus would be more on the sidelines anyway. And it was, striking that balance. I think there were games where I knew the team didn't need me, and it's cases that I'm going to be on the sidelines because I'm more useful then. So trust in them, and I think a bit of trust in me, and also knowing, I think, Luke as well, understanding my skill set as a player, and when do we need me and when do we not need me. And again, that was more crucial, I would say, this year. I played a bigger role in playing an element of it at times, especially towards the end of the season with the injuries. And sort of having that relationship with Luke where, I might think I'm doing all right on the court, and he looks at me and goes, come over here. I think it's one of those of like, it's definitely a tricky balance. I think there's sort of no necessarily right way of doing it. It's just finding the way that works best for you and your team at the time, because each team is different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in that first season when you took over, so you took the Eagles to their best ever finish, a third place finish. You only lost 5 games all season, 2 of them to Sheffield and Oaklands, who finished above you, and the other 3 you lost by a combined 17 points all season. And that was with a team that you wouldn't have had the saying to put together, because you took over. How did you get people to buy into that and to get everybody on the same page to be that successful?
Yeah, a couple of those games still haunt me. But I don't like losing. But yeah, I mean, the buy-in, again, like I think there was a bit of that period of time where we were looking for the new coach when, Matt had left, and we were in that period of, do I take over or do I not take over? Like there's someone else there. Where, I had been assisting with practices anyway, and I've coached since I've come back from America. So there was always that element there to what I was doing anyway, and I was one of the senior players on the team. So I'd sort of helped out with the team in that sense anyway. And a lot of conversations I hope, and many of my teammates previously would say that I'd tried to build good relationships with them on court, and that I care about them as people as well, because I really do. And I think that's something that hopefully shone through and helped build that winning season. Again, the buy-in. I was fortunate enough, we had Jada Gwynn that year. Jada was great. And me and her actually lived together. So she was my roommate that year, which I think also helped because we spent a lot of time talking basketball before I took over. And we saw the game in a similar way with regards to how we wanted to play. So when I took over as coach, those sort of conversations just developed. And I think it became those where, I could look at her on the court and be like, we just need this to happen. And she's like, yeah, okay, great. Like, and there was many times in the game where we were struggling, and I just went, Jada, we need to score. And she was just, I mean, she had this, it helps when you have a skill set like Jada's to be able to just be like, that. Definitely helped me out. But I think, it was one of those where I hope, and I spoke to a lot of the girls about finding a style of play that fit us. We were undersized, especially with me not on the court. Not that my playing career at that point was very interior based anyway, but we were undersized and we needed to find a way to go fast, and we weren't built like other teams, so it was a way of like, what skill set do we have and how are we going to use that to our advantage? And I think those conversations and sort of finding that middle ground of, okay, well, this is who we have, this is our skill set, and this is how we're going to be the best we can be with that. And yeah, I think because again it fit the identity that we had, that's sort of why everyone bought in.
That identity, though, I think really comes across when Newcastle Eagles step on the floor. Like when you're at a game, when me and Kaz, we've said it, at games when we've been commentating. There's just this atmosphere when you guys step on the floor, because it's like you have this synchronicity as a team and this kind of I don't know how to phrase it, but it's just kind of like this readiness and this kind of fearlessness about you guys, when you're warming up and as soon as that ball tips. How does that come across? Is that something that's kind of, talked about beforehand in the changing rooms? Do you guys hype each other up? Or is that something that's kind of not taught? Is it just, the relationships you guys have built over time?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Like, we talk about, and again, I think a part of, when I was even recruiting players this year, and it sounds cliche when we say that we want people like who've got that dog in them that want to go play, that want to play, that don't really care about who's in front of them. But I think, and we spoke about this like a lot with the team this year, because I think the team we had this year were a little, in the best way, they were, while sometimes they didn't look this way, they were very like self-deprecating in the sense of, I don't think they actually understood how good they were. Me and Luke kept banging on about the fact that like, you guys could be the best team in this league if you actually just believed it. And and we kept going, why not? Why? And I remember speaking to them at one point of like, why should the injuries this season be the story of our team? Like, why don't we make the story about in the face of adversity, we still did this. And, and I think this year, the fifth place was still very good considering the injuries that we had. And I was proud of them for the efforts that they put in. But I think it's just that mentality of, it doesn't matter who's in front of you. Like, the end of the day, the ball's going up. There's 3 refs, there's 2 hoops, 5 on 5, 12 on 12, whoever it is, and you don't know what's going to happen on the day. We have a game plan. We'll stick with it. We adapt it. We work together, and we'll see who comes out on top. Now, it's not always going to be our day, but if anything, we're going to fight. And like, I think that's the way that I tried to play, and I think that's what I'm trying to instill in the teams or I'd like to instill in the teams that I'm coaching. Like, a lot of the players nowadays, they have so much, like, a much better skill set than I ever did. So it's like, well, if you could just have that mentality of like, we're going to run through a brick wall, doesn't matter who's in front of us, and combine that with your skill set, then what is the ceiling? I think we talk a lot about potential, but potential is that word that I think sort of haunts every basketball player in a way, and we spoke about that a lot with the teams. Like, well, how do we reach our potential? That's a mindset, and the game will always be a mind game.
And I think, like, we spoke about that, didn't we, on our first episode, Hannah? Just the mentality of the team. And you can see it, like, yeah, you might not win every game, but you're going to make teams work for it. You're going to make them grind it out, and you're going to wear them down to the point where they're like, oh, we just, we've won, but that was hard. And when you've got players, like Shanique Lucas this season was absolutely phenomenal. Andrea Daly was just a problem for everyone. And it was a case of maybe you were playing for the 3 quarters, but injuries, maybe fatigue kind of caught up with you. But you can see it. And I feel like that is the Eagles' way of playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's the identity that, we spoke about trying to build is like, we want to be a team in the league that everyone goes, well, I'll play the Eagles.
I think you are, yeah.
I want to be that. You want to be that annoying team that, people walk in, and I said, like, we have a great arena and a great fan base, and I want teams to play well at our venue, but I want it to be one where, teams come in and go, oh, we're going to Newcastle, like, that's a tough. I want it to be the one that on people's calendars where they go, oh, that's the game, So that's what we're building towards, I hope.
So is there anything in particular that kind of, going into now the next season that you're working at specifically in order to kind of get yourself to that point?
Yeah, I think part of it comes in building the roster and the players that you recruit. And part of it comes in, working at what went well, what didn't go so well last season, seeing where we can improve stuff, whether that be infrastructure-wise within what we can do as a staff that helps the players be the best that they can be, or whether it just be, the players that we're recruiting, the work that we're doing with, returning players to help them be successful. And, and that goes from sort of start to finish and looking at the program holistically. The program itself and the club has been on such a great journey, even since I've been part of it. In the last, heading into year 6 now. And I think it's continuing to build that. And, we don't have the biggest budget. We've never had that. I think we've improved it, over the course of the years, and we've been able to do well, even, with less money than other teams. And I think that's something that we take great pride in. But it's also like looking at, again, the holistic point of it, and how can we continue to, I suppose, improve that budget so that we can get those people returning that we really want to return, or the players coming in that can push on to start challenging for silverware.
So how important do you think it is to be able to keep that consistency, keep that core of players returning? Obviously, we've seen the Super League and in the WBBL in the past, maybe players have come for a season, but being able to keep those names, keep those familiar faces.
Yeah, I think it's a twofold thing in a way, because I think everyone knows that the years that are accrued by players playing together benefits. You get to know players for a longer part of time, even as a coach to a player compared to a teammate and a player. Teammates together. Like, I think of, Abby Lowe. I played with her for a long time. I know how she plays. I could probably go and play with her tomorrow and I would still be able to sort of figure out where she's going to be at on the court. And that's just, she's a person who I probably played the most years with. But I think those hours and those reps that you get together, that they accrue, and at some point, that there's a level of familiarity and success that comes with that. But I think the opposite side of that is that currently, with the budgets we have in the SLB in general, I don't think it lends itself to returning players, and especially not a lot of import players, because of the nature of the way the sport is going. Other leagues have more money, other teams have bigger budgets, and I think that's sort of where the return thing sort of comes in, is like, well, what, whilst we may do things well holistically, if the budget is not there to return players, someone has a really good season, and how do you get them back if you don't have more money? So I think that's where, holistically we need to work to get to a point where we can start to return more players, because the sport in general is growing, which is great, but it means greater opportunities. And so and that might be more financially, it might not be greater with regards to the setup or the system that you're in, but financially that opportunity is there, and I think people are looking at that, and I think that's where our league needs to continue to grow so that we can return players. But I think it's always good to see players come over here and stay and have that impact in the league. Think of T, 2 years ago, us going to Caledonia, having a great season with Caledonia. Hard to play against, weird to play against. Writing that scouting report was very strange. But it's good to still see, familiar players in the league. And I think it also helps the league, grow. I think we need to get to that point again. I think it's a holistic cycle, isn't it? If you've got players who are recognisable to fans, then the interest in those players grow, social media, so on and so forth. But yeah, I think it comes down to that sort of chicken and egg of like, where does that money come from in order to keep those players coming back?
Yeah. I mean, talk about kind of that of needing, more funding and more opportunities. Is there anything specifically that you can see that, we could really kind of just do next season and push the league that a little bit further? Is there anything you just think, oh, do you know what? This is what we need to be looking at, or this is some, a change that we can do that can just get the league to the next level?
Yeah, I've seen it again, like over the last 5 years, the attendance is growing, which is a good thing. The more people that see us, the more visible we are, ultimately the better it becomes. I think social media now is key. It's where our fan base is. We are a young game, in a sense, like it's a sport that people want to be involved in, they want to play, and the kids are all in it, and it's all over TikTok and Instagram, and the kids are all on social media, and I think that's where ultimately we need to be. I say the kids, I'm on social media. Do you know what I mean? Like we're all nowadays on social media, and I think that's probably where the growth comes. I think basketball, and I've had this discussion so many times, and basketball players have this ability to storytell, and I think that's what truly draws people in. Why is Megan Mullins, you spoke a lot about her and winning all the awards. What's her story? At our team, what's Andrea's story? What's Shanique's story? And Jada DePar and her return from injury. There's so many stories there to sort of be told that I think draws us to this game, and I think it's why we play, it's why we're invested, and specifically in women's sports as well. A lot of people will come if they know who they're watching and who they're supporting, more so than on the men's side. And there's 1,000,001 studies about it. People need to be able to connect with us to be able to really get behind us, and I think that's probably where our area for growth truly is what are we putting out there on social media to get people drawn in to then go, oh, I want to come watch that game. Oh, that's the rivalry I want to get behind. I think about our games like with Manchester last season, and every single game was a game that, even on the sideline, I'm stood there thinking, this is a game that I actually want to watch, you know. At this point, you know, that I think about the first game we played, and you know, we went down quite a lot at the half, and then we come back and have the win. You know, the second game there was again a real tough battle at our place for the big game again, end to end, like big games that people want to get behind. We just need to shout about it and find ways to do that.
So I always find when people know about it or they see it, or if I take someone that hasn't watched a basketball game before, especially to a women's game, they're watching like, this is amazing, and they come back. They just don't know about it.
Yeah, I think that's the part that we need to sort of jump on, is like the telling people about it. Because once people come, they fall in love with it.
Yeah.
But it's just the shouting about it. I mean, I think even like me getting into basketball, I didn't know about it. I had no idea. I didn't start till I was 15 because basketball wasn't a thing for me. Like, I didn't know about it. And then when I went, I was like, oh, this is great, you know? But again, until
what was it that got you into? Did you just go to like a session?
It was my brother. Yeah.
Oh.
My brother, he's 3 years younger than me, and he went and started out at Mansfield Giants because he got sort of recruited from school. But at my school, we didn't play basketball on the girls' side. We played netball. Which obviously I probably wasn't very good at, because as you two will have known from watching me play, I foul quite a lot. So
the exact same at school. When I played netball, they'd be like, "Do you play basketball?" And I'd be like, "Yes, guilty."
yeah. So I needed to. I think basketball was definitely the route for me, but I didn't play it. So my brother went, and I was swimming at the time, playing football, and I grew early, so I was 6'1" when I was 15, and walked in with my mum to pick him up from his session. And I remember Ian Richards was stood there, and the coach looked at me and was like, "Who are you?" I'm Jordan's sister, and Jordan hadn't grown yet, so he was still quite small. And they were like, "Oh, he's gonna be massive too." And I was like, "Yeah." So I joined in from there. But yeah, that's how I got started. It wasn't like I didn't pick up a ball or do anything. It was just me being like, "Well, I love sports." I got an injury which would stop me from swimming. I've got scoliosis, so my shoulders are a bit off. The doctor told me to start swimming, and I was like, well, I need to do something because I love sports and I can't just sit at home. And I was like, oh, I'll just go and try it. And then I couldn't do it, which was really annoying. So then the fact I couldn't do it, I was there like, I will do it. I will find out how to, you know, score and make a layup and dribble. I can't not. So that was it.
Wow. And at what point did it click and you think I might have the opportunity here to like head over to the States like you did after picking it up so kind of in your teenage years?
Yeah, I don't know when the exact moment it clicked. Within my first year of like playing with a team, I got selected to, back then it wasn't like Aspire, it was like regional tournaments. I got selected to go represent East Midlands and did like the regional competition, and then got selected to like the long list of England under 18s. And I was like, what's going on? Because at that point, like, I hadn't really played. And I think that I was like, oh, I'm tall, like, and I was I was quite coordinated. So I was like, oh, I can catch, and I'm 6'3", like this, you know, I can do this. And then I went to England under 18s, and I came up against all the players that have been playing for a few years, and I was like, I'm well out of my depth. Crazy stuff. I think that was like a bit of an eye opener of like, oh, actually, this is good. And then, you know, again, my coaches at Mansfield were great, and they started to sort of talk to me about all the different opportunities that I could, you know, get from it. I loved school, and I loved education. I was like, well, I can go travel the world and get my education for free if I work hard at this. Like, it's a no-brainer to me. So yeah, I think that was sort of when it clicked, was like that initial selection, and then I think opening up, meeting different people that had sort of done it.
You represented GB at the under-20s at the European Championships as well?
Yeah, I played for GB at under-18s and under-20s. So I said it's funny, like, now coaching against Vanessa Ellis, and Vanessa was my coach for GB under-18s. So yeah, it's very full circle, and in those moments to be like, oh, you know, like not too long ago, even like 11 years ago now, I was playing for you, and now,
Right.
I'm trying to work out how to beat you. So yeah, but no, it was a great honour to represent GB, and I've got lots of memories of, again, traveling, meeting different people, playing against, different people, and now go on to do great, wonderful, different things, whether that be, in basketball, playing, coaching, or just in life in general. There's, I think basketball opens and sport in general opens up so many pathways. So,
Is there anything you would say to kind of any young players that are coming up the ranks, or, any players that are kind of maybe looking to coach, younger girls that are looking to coach? Is there anything any advice you'd give them, or anything that you think they need to know, just to kind of keep them going?
yeah, I think it's one of those where we need more women coaching, and you can, a bit like we're talking about representation and, being visible, like it's making those connections, and it's seeing people that are like us that are out there, I think, and knowing that we can do it. We've got Kyla in the league this year now that did a fantastic job with London. There's more women now than there has been coaching. Chantel was in the league, and Steph Collins, Vanessa, that, I think people are starting to see, more female coaches, which is great. And again, I think it's just that pathway that, again, basketball can take you in many different directions. Yeah, you don't even have to be a basketball player to be a basketball coach. It's, if you have a passion for something and you enjoy it, go and chase it no matter what it is. But also don't be afraid to reach out and find out stuff. I think, at some point there's someone who's done what you want to do. And I mean, on my end, I'm happy to talk to anybody that wants to sort of follow that pathway. I think that's the only way we sort of improve, and we create that, sisterhood in a way of coaching, of being better and being the best that we can be, and challenging each other. And I think that's it. I think, learn what you can, be a sponge, don't stop learning. And I say to the players, like, I learn just as much, if not more, from them than they have from me. And I think that will sort of always be the case. And yeah, just put your best foot forward where you can.
I think it's great to see so many females involved in coaching. And I've said before, I played since I was like 11, 12. I didn't have a female coach until I was in my 30s. And I didn't even think, oh, I don't have a female coach. I just never saw one. I never saw one when I was playing where I did. And it was Jade Butters up here in Manchester. And then I'm looking at the announcements for the Red Star basketball camp this summer. Oh. You've been announced for it, Chloe. Katie Lamond from the City of Leeds basketball club's there. Rahana Khalil, Jessie's for the Eights. And that's fantastic, because all these young girls now are going to get coached by fantastic players and coaches like yourselves. And there's just so many more opportunities for girls to be able to do that and to take, like you say, being a sponge and taking what they can learn from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Red Star's done a great job, for a number of years, in promoting, sport in basketball in the UK in general. And, Matt, obviously I have that connection from when he coached up here, but Matt, James Quinn, even Katie down at, Leeds have done a great job there with developing that. And this is my third year going now, and it's the first year that they've got an all-girls camp, which is, an unbelievable position to be in, where, that many young girls in the UK are coming across. And it's not just the UK, by the way. There's like people coming from abroad that come in to do Red Star, which is awesome, because it gives them that, again, international experience, and they're meeting people from all over the place. But it's nice to have that ability to meet other coaches in the UK and work with people who are, working at all levels of our sport. There's grassroots coaches, there's people that's in the professional game, in the university game that are truly invested in developing the next generation. And that's something that I find, really inspiring, something that I love to be a part of. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that opportunity and the people that get to work there with me.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, just, looking at, like you say, the next generation, and, what we spoke about at the beginning about kind of buying into, the pushing forward of just creating more opportunities and, making sure that we're getting the right funding and things like that. Do you have any like hope, or is there anything in particular that you just kind of think, I really hope that we get to that level, or I really hope that women's basketball can get to that stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this country in particular, like, we've got a real chance of turning. I think we're going to battle to really push against football, but and I know netball is massive here, but there is such an amount of people playing basketball that, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to turn on my TV and find out, what the team got up to on the weekend. We're grateful that up here we get some news coverage. I'm not sure how normal that is across the rest of the UK, but I would love to get to the point where every SLB team has 12 players who are paid to be there, and that their job is to play basketball. And I mean, it's going to take some work to get there, but I think the appetite for basketball is there. The appetite for women's sports is growing and is getting there. I don't see any reason why in the next few years we can't be trending towards that direction where, basketball is a sport that is, on the TV. You go onto your regular TV and you scroll down and the basketball's there. And again, I don't think we're in a position in this country currently to where we're going to battle against football or anything like that. But at the end of the day, it's the second team sport in the country. So we need the media coverage to sort of match that. And I think that's where the revenue comes in. We pay 12 players, if not more, onto the roster, and we start to professionalize it that way. And I hope then that starts to create true pathways for people. I hope that means that we get to keep UK talent in the UK a bit more, and that we can see, the products of the pathways coming through and shining in the professional league. And, hopefully there's a lot of the younger generation that go out to the States, as I did, as many a player has done. But hopefully we get to open up more pathways for them to stay in the UK as well, and get their education alongside playing here. Big ambitions, I think, but I don't see why
Not?
if we're not all working together to one common goal, that's not achievable for us. Because I think we could be a great basketball country on an international stage. I just think it's about how do we get there.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's not necessarily competing with football, is it? Because it's different audiences. You've got people that might not be interested in football, but they want another sport. And I always think basketball is so accessible for people. Like you see it after the games, and then in Newcastle, kids can get signatures from players, they can get autographs and meet the players. You can't really do that if you go down to a Premier League game and the football.
Right.
Yeah, it's a completely different game in that sense. It's definitely more accessible, I think, even when it comes down to how involved you can get in the game. We think about taking a free throw in the crowd putting you off, or it's one of those sports where you can get stuck into, and the crowd can have an impact. I think in football, unless you get into a penalty, you're probably not going to have a massive effect from your seat. But I think it's one of those games. Basketball is infectious in that sense of you can sit there and go to a game. It's virtually impossible not to get involved in some way, shape or form. And especially I think when you add in that storytelling element that we were speaking about earlier, when you get to know more about the players, it's hard not to root for certain people. So I think it's one of those ones where, it definitely is accessible in that sense. We pride ourselves here on being community focused and, meeting the kids after the game and all the fans. And again, that comes back into our community element. We do a lot of work in the schools, and, we have a big STEM project and women in STEM project that we do with our schools. And then come into the game afterwards. And I remember after one game, somebody told me, oh, well, you said that, you shot this percentage of free throws, but you missed 2 today. I was like, yeah, thanks for telling me that. So like just seeing the investment that they then have in the game and in the sport, and hopefully creating sort of those lifelong fans. And I think it's one of those ones, like you say, it's accessible, and it can create different avenues and different pathways for people. And it's not the same as football, and
Yeah.
I say the game isn't women's basketball is not even the same game as men's basketball. You know, it's two different games. But it's just appreciating what is there in front of you, the skill, the athleticism, the IQ. You know,
Yeah, it is.
it's hard not to like basketball.
It's the best sport, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, well, to finish off, because we have literally just spoke about basketball for 30 minutes straight, is there anything, a fun fact that's non-basketball that people might want to know?
Oof.
Sorry if I put you on the spot.
Like, there's icebreakers, isn't it?
I know.
Basketball's not in my icebreaker, so that's
I know, that's the thing, isn't it?
What do you do when you're not playing, coaching, watching, thinking, planning basketball?
I don't know.
Sleep.
Oh, walking the dog now, ask him to go out for a walk.
Well, there you go.
You know. I like to travel. I love to travel, find out different places. I think at the minute I'm on like 30 different countries.
Yeah.
So I do love traveling. Basketball has been an avenue to do a lot of that. But I do love traveling, finding out about places. I like art.
Nice.
I like painting. I'm doing a lot of like paint by numbers stuff at the minute. Yeah, I'm big into sort of like, at some point we all stop being kids, don't we? And we don't realise that we stop being kids. And I think we stop finding the fun in stuff is when life gets a bit boring. So I'm just doing the stuff that I enjoyed doing when I was a kid at times. So paint by numbers is a thing that I'm doing at the minute.
Sure.
But yeah, travelling, that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
I'll be honest, a lot of life is basketball. I do love the sport. I think you've got to work in a job that you do love. Spend time with my family where I can. My family's from Derbyshire, so I do a lot of trips down the A1 and go visit them. But yeah, that's sort of me.
Have you been watching much WNBA? Do you have time for that in your off season?
I have managed to catch up on some of the games. I've literally yesterday just finished our community project, so I've been going morning and afternoon in schools since the end of the season, which has been fun, but it's not left a lot of time for anything other than recruiting and STEM. But yeah, no, I've been catching up on some of the games, and I mean the level and the play this year has been great, and so many close games. So yeah, lots of note taking. Rewind that, screen record that play. I like that.
Just make note. Which player can I use for that one?
Yeah, I was like, that would fit nicely.
Oh, well, thank you so much for speaking to us today. We really appreciate it. I know you've got a busy pre-season schedule that's probably started now, maybe, I think. So yeah, we appreciate your time. So that's all we've got time for today. So thank you again for watching, and a big thank you as well for all our support that we've had since our launch of the first episode. It really means a lot. So don't forget to like and subscribe. First time saying this. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're watching or catching this podcast. And if you'd like to catch up with all our social content, see us on Instagram at Women's Basketball Podcast.
Thanks, Chloe.
And thank you for watching.